What's good? We're back with more Inside the Green Room.
Sure.
Harrison Sanford, Danny Green. You guys already know the vibes. Let's talk about the MVP races. All the chatter now with roughly 30 games or so left in the NBA season. The race is definitely going to heat up. We've heard some rumblings and some real campaigning for Jason Tatum to get into the mix. Nikola Jokić is obviously in the mix, and right now the betting favorite. You have guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Dončić who are also up for nomination. There was a quiet storm building for Kawhi Leonard, but that's kind of tapered down. And obviously Joel Embiid is out of the race because he will not meet the game requirement. I already know who I'm voting for. I'll let you go first, though, Danny.
SGA, man. Shai has been killing, bro. To have a team that didn't make the playoffs to possibly be in the #1 seed in the NBA or in the West is unbelievable. And you got to take that into account. I don't care how young he is or how young that group is. But to lead a team like that, to be in the top in the Western Conference, which nobody could have predicted last year, beginning of this year, 5 years, nobody's seen this coming. So you have to give him, some credit and give, where credit is due. Give him his flowers now.
I totally understand that. I do believe the Oklahoma City Thunder deserve an award at the end of the year. I think that should be Coach of the Year for Mark Dagnault. He's done a great job with that young team to be able to facilitate an offense and a defense that is really impactful on both sides of the court. I think he should easily win Coach of the Year. When it comes to MVP, Danny, I'm going with Luka Dončić. He leads the NBA. Well, so for me, when it comes to MVP, I take it literally. Who is the most valuable player to their team? And there is no argument for any other player in the NBA that they're more valuable than Luka Dončić. If I wanted to judge valuability to a team, I judge it by how many minutes you play. Luka Dončić leads the NBA in minutes played. I would judge it by your usage rate. How often are you being used when you're out there on the court? Luka Dončić leads the NBA in usage rate. Well, then you could also go to stats. Who leads the NBA in scoring per game? Luka Dončić. And let's keep it a buck. As great as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is, and he's great, who's the better basketball player? Luka Dončić or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? The answer is pretty easy to me. Luka Dončić. So Luka Dončić is the most valuable player in the NBA. And I don't really understand why there really has to be a debate about it. The stats are pretty clear.
Yeah, but that's why winning has to come into play. Because if they're
a top six team in a ridiculously hard conference.
Right now, they're top six. They could end up in the play-in game.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. What seed? So do you agree with my estimation that Luka Dončić is better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? As an overall player, 1-to-1.
As an overall player, yes. Right now, yes.
Oh, of course. Okay, all right. And I already said he's leading the NBA in minutes, leading the NBA in usage, and he's leading the NBA in scoring per game. That screams valuability.
For sure.
Does it not?
If you're not in the playoffs, then how valuable are you?
Okay. All right. So
if you're at the bottom, you have to be a top 4 seed to me. You have to be a top 4 seed.
Okay.
Then we take away some MVPs from Kobe Bean Bryant. We took MVPs away from Kobe Bean Bryant, right? Because of where he sat in the West.
Sure. I totally understand this. I understand the sentiment. You have to have a certain level of winning. Totally understand. But what seed does he have to? He has everything else. So what seed does he have to get? Just top 4. So if he's a top 4 seed and OKC is the #1 seed, you're still giving it. Who are you giving it to?
If his numbers are where they are and he's at the 3 or 4 seed at the end of this year, I would give it to him.
Over Shai.
I think Shai is my MVP. The OKC's #1. Sure. Winning has to do with
something. Well, they're #2. Minnesota's
if they're #1, it's a tough argument between him and Luka. If Luka's gonna have to climb the charts to get to 3 to make it like, all right, if he's 4 and Shai is 1, I'm going with Shai. Shai is killing, man. Shai is doing it, and OKC is rolling. So it's like winning matters. Winning plays a big part to me when it comes to that. And obviously, the most valuable player is not always the best team, because you argue, Giannis or Joel, Jokic, they have a really good team. Can't penalize him with a really good team, but he's built his team up around him. And maybe his usage rate is not as high because they beat teams a little bit better than Luka does. Luka's record, they lose most games or in closer games, so he has to play more minutes, and his usage rate is a lot higher. So yeah, a lot of those things.
That's not Luka's fault.
I'm just saying, if you use Jokic as much, his numbers might be crazier if they were in closer games.
You're totally right. So, you're totally right. You're totally right for
Same
that.
thing
I mean,
with Shai.
obviously, the way you judge MVP is obviously up to every individual voter, and that's what could make it so complex. But for me, I like the idea of taking a guy who's probably the best. Well, Jokic is the best player, but it's tough. But as his stats stand, he is literally the most valuable player if I went by the stats. But yes, you have to qualify winning into the equation.